Soon, Seth and Apostius dressed up, walked out of the room, and sauntered around the fields. Hey Seth, why are you so mean to Lucio? Apostius said. Seth looked at Apostius with a piercing glare. And you say that too? Really? Apostius squirmed uneasily. It was never a good idea to be around whenever Seth was extremely angry, because he seems as dangerous as a sharp blade whenever his tempers get rough. No, no, Seth. I'm just curious. I argue with him too, but the intensity is never as strong as how you do with him. So I asked Lucy about it before, and he told me that he hates you a lot. So that's why I'm thinking something awful has been going on between you two for quite a long time, Apostle said. Seth calmed down somewhat. I just hate how I'm always the one who has to stop, even though he starts up the whole thing. But you're big. You're twice as tall as him and older than him. And I believe tall guys like you should have a big heart to forgive just about anyone, Apostle said. Seth looked at Apostius in a weird expression. You think I'm a god? Even gods fight in the mythology books. And still, I don't have that much of a big heart or a patience to forgive someone who always comes to attack me. I hate them all. So annoying. For countless times I told Lucio that he's so annoying, but he never lets it up. It's always small guys like him who are so annoying to me. Apostius frowned. Have you ever tried having a conversation with Lucio? He's not always so annoying as you say. Seth nodded. Oh, believe me, I've tried that numerous times, hoping that he doesn't annoy me. But it seems he doesn't want to converse with me as much, and keeps it to a minimum. So he only wants to argue and fight. Gosh, that guy started it from the day one he stopped foot on this island. He slowly looked at Apostius and tapped on his shoulder. I mean, if all the small guys in the world were like you, then I'll have so much less stress. Apostius scowled. Hey, I'm not small. I didn't say you were. But what's with that guy though? He literally increased his frequency in annoying me these days. Do you know why? Apostius slowly shook his head. I have no clue. Maybe he's undergoing so much stress lately. And I could argue with you that he is only going after you, because it's been widely known amongst us that you guys are the ones who always start the trouble in our barracks. Out of deep frustration, Seth grabbed his hair and took a deep breath. See, I told you. Everyone else get a conversation out of Lucio, but I can't. I kind of wish he could stop being so angry like that to me. Pasio smiled. Should I tell Lucio about what you said? I think it will help both of you. Seth suddenly stopped and looked at Apostius. No, absolutely not. He pointed at Apostius. Don't you ever think about telling him that. Whatever I've said to you stays between us, okay? Apostius became sad. Okay, but I wanted to help you. Seth shook his head. No, you're definitely not helping me by telling him that. Maybe later, but not now. Suddenly, the headquarters bell rang, demanding instant gathering for a grand meeting. Seth clenched his fist. Oh gosh, I don't like the sound of that, but I guess we need to go. Therefore, Seth and Apostios rushed to the headquarters fields and sat down in their areas. Soon, everyone had gathered and Lord Pericles took a seat on a big barrel to speak. Yes, I need to situate myself on here first. Lord Pericles took his time getting himself comfortable sitting down. When it was done, he scanned his soldiers from left to right. Alright guys, you've already found your rightful areas to set down. That's good. So, he smirked as he fiddled with his fingers. This morning was surely a surprising one for anyone, for I see that you all look so starstruck, just like you've all been kicked by a horse. But I don't do things without any reasons. So there is a reason or reasons for knowing the depth and various penalty collections when you are just about to enjoy your wages. You see, we've put a lot of thought to this, and came to an agreement that you all need to be rewarded with something beyond wealth. Therefore, other executives and I have decided that lifting up some of the previous restrictions in this fortress will benefit us in the short run and much more in the long run. So first, we'll allow servants to live alongside us in the fortress. That means we would need to have buildings to house them, And you guys need to go out and bring your own servants who will be your responsibility to feed and house for the benefit of the fortress. I tell you that it will be worth it. It's been carefully calculated and assessed to have an extremely positive result for all of us. And the soldiers started cheering one by one, so Lord Pericles patiently waited for it to subside. See, you guys already like it from the start. However, I'm far from finished. The previous collection helped us out tremendously in having enough funds set aside for this grand series of construction, which will take place here very soon. Since you like the idea so much, you'll need to be the muscle force in this construction event. And the designs will be ready within a couple months from now. And then you'll get to choose which designs you like the most. Then we'll construct them based on your choice. He paused for a while to drink some water and looked at heavy melee infantries. Well, I guess I gotta drink some water too. Alright. Heavy melee guys, good for you. We'll let you go on a vacation for 4 months. What do you think? Of course, the heavy melee guys all cheered out loud in agreement. Lord Pericles chuckled. There are stipulations to this agreement. Your wages will be cut to half during your vacation. Then you need to acquire at least one servant per person and maximum 3 servants per person and bring them when you return back here. And find out on which months you would like to go on the vacation. But the starting month has to be within 4 months. The heavy melee guys suddenly became very silent for a while and whispered amongst each other. Lord Pericles gazed at them. If you're unable to decide as of this moment, then I'll give you around a couple weeks to think about it. He then turned to look at medium melee guys. Alright, medium melee guys, you'll also be able to go on a vacation for 4 months, but you'll be paid a third of your wages for those months. On the other hand, you need to acquire at least one servant, and at most 3 per person, but each newbie can join up with another person because their wages are too low to be maintaining, even one servant as of this moment. Also, by each platoon, you need to have in mind bringing us at least 15 male servants per platoon, so that they could help us out in construction. And you need to tell us on which months you would like to go on vacation. You'll also get a couple weeks to decide, and depending on the answers, you may even be able to go on vacation before heavy melee guys. A soldier raised his hand. Lord, weren't we getting half wages just like the heavy melee guys? Lord Pericles smiled. He had expected some disapprovals from the decisions that he and other executives made. You guys are getting your wages based on what you have contributed in the past. So third of the wage suits you best, while half wage suits the heavy melee guys best. Soon, the heavy melee guys started nodding and muttering out their approvals, while medium melee guys were frowning. Upon seeing that no one else had any questions, Lord Pericles turned to look at the support soldiers and smiled. Okay, support guys, you guys will get similar stipulations as the medium melee guys. Couple weeks to decide, 1 servant per person, but 2 maximum per person, and each newbie can join up with another person. 20 male servants at least as a platoon, and a third of the wage during the vacation months. He then looked at everyone. Now, does anyone have any questions? One soldier raised his hand. When do we get our wages if our vacation months overlap the pay distribution month? Lord Pericles nodded. Good question. You'll be getting half of your respective wages before you head on to your vacation, so that you may use them in your hometowns. And the remaining half will be withheld until you come back so that in case you spendthrift too much in your hometown and have nothing remaining, you'll still have some money waiting for you to use when you come back to us. The soldiers nodded in approval. It was a good idea. A melee guy raised his hand. Many people in the town need more help. So, when we bring our servants, can we put them to work in the town and acquire their wages? Lord Pericles nodded. Another good question. You can do that. That's very recommended. For the good of both the fortress and the town. but there will be helping days to fill up in the fortress because it's providing you and your servants with free housing. Furthermore, if your servant works outside of the fortress, you have to let us know about it because he or she will be subjected to tax collection. Captain Claus raised his hand. What if some of us don't want to go on a vacation? Lord Pericles nodded. You guys are racking up good questions today. If you really don't want to go on a vacation, just let us know so that in case you may get bored, we may arrange some voluntary tasks for you to do while other guys in your platoons enjoy their vacations. However, we recommend that you abide by the guidelines to go along with your platoon's decisions. But if you still have to refuse, then you're allowed to stay with us. And sadly, you'll still be receiving the deducted wages because we won't be forcing you to work at all. So technically, you'll be spending your vacation on this island instead of going to your homelands. Everyone muttered out their approvals and nobody raised their hands for further questions. So Lord Pericles decided to touch onto another topic. Also, we'll allow some of us to be eligible to live with our wives in this fortress, starting with myself, executive members, then captains, and officers. And those who are over 30 years old will be able to live with our wives here, as long as they don't serve as a great distracting factor for the functioning of this fortress. Therefore, for the selected few, this vacation will be a great opportunity for you to come back here with your wives. The chosen soldiers shouted out in joy while others looked at them in jealousy. Lord Pericles continued, with the good news comes the bad news. So it's time for you to hear the new restrictions which will be set in place to go along with the restrictions which have been lifted up. First, starting this coming spring, you will need to buy the food and other resources of the fortress, for they will no longer be rationed to you. Kinds of food which will be available will become fewer in order for you guys to start spending in the market square and help our civilians in their economic well-being. Also, we are constantly growing in power and number, so the fortress won't be able to sustain you much longer with free food and resources. We understand your disapprovals, but you need to remember that you coexist on this island with the civilians. So we all need to help each other even if some things may be burdensome. Understood? The soldiers had sour expressions, because at last the dreaded action had been accomplished. They all knew this was coming, though, so they didn't protest any further than having sour expressions. Heavy melee guys have progressed much with creating the farmland on the eastern areas of this island, and we have upcoming contracts with some landless peasants in Constantinople who will live there. Therefore, the cattle will need to be taken out and be used by the farmers, and that's going to take place next spring. Other animals in the fortress will need to be taken out, but not as soon as the cattle, and we'll let you guys know in advance in the future regarding that. And these are all I have for you this morning. Any questions? An archer raised his hand. Where do we house our servants if the buildings aren't completed upon our return? Lord Pericles smiled. There are lots of empty rooms in your barracks. Those will be the servants' temporary rooms. If you're bringing women servants for your pleasures, and if your roommates don't mind, then you're allowed to have them in your own rooms as well. The soldiers chuckled and started discussing amongst each other. Any other questions? Lord Pericles looked around and no one raised their hands. Okay then, go ahead and get your breakfast. Discuss your vacation plans there. After that, head over to your tasks. The soldiers dispersed. Thomas and his squad members sat around the fire pit eating their breakfast. So, which months do you guys want the vacation? Thomas said. Others remained silent thinking about it. The winter months, Magnus said. So, December to the end of March? Ephraim said. No, December to the end of February, Magnus said. You know, I think that's a great idea. We won't be able to work much on the kilns in those months, Ephraim said. Magnus flinched. Oh gosh, I forgot about the kilns. So the finishing date will be pushed back, right? Yes, of course, but don't worry about it. We'll finish them as time permits, Ephraim said. Seth looked riled up. Hey, Ephraim, Then are you serious that we could just leave the unfinished kilns out there for those months? What are we going to do about the new shipments? Other guys suddenly looked at Ephraim for the answer. For their grand project will be paused. Ephraim sighed. Well, the kilns will of course be put on hold for those months, and we'll have to let our supplier know regarding not sending any shipments for those months. Officer Kai sighed. Gosh, I hate waiting. Edmund grimaced. Me too. Magnus grunted. Officer Ephraim, we've been working very fast, and I like the speed. Ephraim cleared his throat. I understand your disappointment. For you three and some others have contributed a good amount of money and effort to the kilns, but it seems like we need to slow down from now on. He looked around at others and took a deep breath. But look on the bright side. The winter season is a rainy and snowy season. We can't really speed things up even if we wanted to. Therefore, we just need to push through and have many of them finished by the end of October. Then we'll be able to finish everything by next spring. Other members nodded and Thomas whispered at Ephraim about something. Ephraim nodded, so Thomas cleared his throat to garner attention. We have yet another investment opportunity. In Venice, there's a monetary lending institution, also called a bank, which is currently accepting money from anyone in return for semi-annual compensation based on the amount of money invested. It seems that they're really desperate for more money because they're busy paying up debts incurred due to past and ongoing wars. Therefore, if you follow us around during our vacation, then you'll be able to have another chance to invest. How does that sound? Undell raised his hand. What do you mean by following you guys around? Are you going to go on a journey? Thomas nodded. Yes, of course. I'm not going to stay at my parents' house for those 4 months. Where are you going then? Undell said. I'm planning on touring Egypt and the Italian peninsula, and possibly going further out west to Hispania as well, Thomas said. Edmund suddenly clapped. Captain Thomas, I'm all in with you on that, because I want to go visit my ancestors' land. Thomas seemed blank at first, but he started chuckling. Well, thanks for your promise, Edmund. And sure thing, we will definitely stop by the beloved Sicily for you. Which city would you like to visit? I would like to visit Palermo and Syracuse. Make them absolute destinations. I won't accept you backing away from such a plan in the future, Edmund said. Thomas smiled at Edmund. Such enthusiasm from a least likely person. It was a surprising thing indeed. Edmund, I got you. Don't worry about that. As of right now, the problem for us is that we can't think of many places to visit, not the other way around. When the breakfast came to an end and everyone was dispersing for their tasks, Seth caught Officer Kai by himself. Seth cleared his throat as he approached Officer Kai. Hey, Kai, why do you put so much of your energy supporting Lucio? Officer Kai flinched upon hearing Seth. Well, other guys don't really like him, and it seems like he's suffering a lot inside due to not being treated right, so I can't help but give my support to him whenever he needs it. Seth shook his head. But helping him when I have successfully cornered him? That is wrong. Couldn't you have thought about how many times he had cornered me in the past and made me feel miserable? Officer Kai sighed. I know, but I just thought that you were crossing some lines here. You were doing it too much, especially in front of so many people in that small room. What? Then, do you mean that he has never done the same thing to me before? He has shamed me like that many times in the past, Seth said. Seth, I never meant that, but just think about it. Many other people here like you, so you can go up to them, talk about how Lucio had made you shameful, and they they would tell you not to worry about it since they don't think the same about you. However, Lucio doesn't think he has anyone to talk about those things. Even though I'm here for him, as well as Andel and Edvin, he keeps everything hidden inside, rotting out his heart and self-esteem. Officer Kai said. Seth stomped on the ground. Well, that's his fault for not sharing his stress. That has nothing to do with you barging into our fight. Officer Kai grimaced. That has everything to do with me, Seth. He is in my group and I care for him, okay? Seth flinched. Hold up. Why are you getting so riled up? I was just trying to have a discussion. Officer Kai clenched his fist. Because you don't care. You don't care about what other people are going through. Seth spread out his arms. What? What do you mean I don't care about others? I constantly talk with them to try to improve the mood, even with Lucio. I've tried a lot. I tell you, Kai, he's the one who stuck up to me and never gives up on giving me bad days. Officer Kai sighed and shook his head. That doesn't change you. That doesn't change from you still not caring about others. He quickly looked around to see if anyone else was near. Then he started pointing at Seth. You're talking to him because you just want to feel more comfortable with yourself, which has nothing to do with really getting to know him. But you're just covering it up as your own convenience. I'm certain that you've never had any sincere conversation with Lucio, but just some ruses to have him not annoy you. Do you finally see yourself? Seth became starstruck for a split moment, but he quickly regained his will to speak. Kai, you're going off topic right now. I was asking why you were siding with Lucio before. Officer Kai glared at Seth. I'm not going off topic right now. I'm telling you straight up. You disgust me. And that's why I no longer side with you in anything. Seth stared at Officer Kai in wonder. Am I really like that to you? Officer Kai took a deep breath. Well, now you are. You're demanding me to answer why I'm siding with Lucio when you haven't done anything to earn it. Seth looked frustrated. What? What do you mean? Officer Kai shook his head and sighed. Do you really want the answer? Seth nodded confidently, so Officer Kai continued. Me siding with Lucio is the same way you're siding with Apasius all the time. You got your answer, so I'm going. He turned around and walked away. Seth stood there confused. He shook his head multiple times to shake himself back into reality, but he felt very dazed, so he decided to go ask Ephraim regarding what Kai meant. Seth caught up to Ephraim, who was stretching with other support soldiers before they headed out to exercise. You're late, Seth. Where have you been? Ephraim said. Seth grunted. Talking with Kai. Ephraim squinted his eyes and gazed at Officer Kai, then back to Seth. You don't sound like you guys had fun talking. Of course not. He shamed me just like how Lucio does, Seth said. Ephraim simply sighed and they continued following the stretch. Soon afterwards, they were following others who were jogging towards the southern gate. After some time, Seth found himself jogging down the road to the central valley of the island. Then they turned right and followed the central road, crossed the town, and then got onto the southern road. It was then that Seth found it a good time to resume the conversation with Ephraim. Seth kept pace with Ephraim. Hey Ephraim, Kai told me something that bothers me much right now. Ephraim nodded. Yeah, what is it? He said, I'm siding with Apasios all the time. Do I really? Seth said. Ephraim chuckled. Yes, you still don't know that? Seth gasped. What? You agree with him? How? Indeed, it was a dangerous thing if Ephraim agreed to an opinion of another soldier. It was so because he was seen as the most unbiased soldier in the fortress, and he was widely known for such fairness and wisdom. That's why other soldiers would frequently come up to him to ask him to mediate their own